Extraterrestrials are
and spirit,
gorgeous.
yeah, and spiritual people say that's the satanic method, to just.
Yeah, and maybe it is, or they say that they're reptilians. I don't know. Maybe they are, but I don't see any evidence of that. All I know is that it dehumanizes and disempowers us, and anything that dehumanizes us and disempowers us is a bad thing. In fact, I was sitting at a luncheon with a guy who's doing some very interesting work, and he leaned forward and said, "You know who's behind all this, don't you?" And I said, "No, I don't. Who's behind all of it?" And he said, "Satan." And I said, "Well, that's what some people say." He said, "No, no, it's true." Okay, it's true for you. I don't have any documentation. All I know is that you can ascribe this to any group you want or any individual you want. But the data says that what we are dealing with now has to be dealt with. Maybe it's Satan, maybe it's not, maybe it's reptiles, maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't have any access to that. But I do know that we're slated for destruction and we have to save ourselves.
This is the realization that is going to be very hard for many people when it comes to them, that there's on all levels of our societies, in all agencies, in our governments, in the medical industry, if you want to call it that, the mainstream media, of course. There are psychopaths running the show. That is a realization which is very hard to digest. How could it have come to that? Well, these very same psychopaths groomed us to be the perfect breeding ground for that. And that's when I realized when I read what's his name, Andrzej Lobachevsky's book, when he explained about how a whole society, it's not an individual problem. Of course it's an individual problem if you're married to a psychopath or working for a psychopath, but it goes way beyond that. And he explained it by way of using Germany as an example. After World War I, Germans had also, as not just because they lost the war, but also because of the very oppressive Versailles Treaty, they had become, as he explains it, a hysterical society. They were looking for something to get them out of this. And that was the perfect breeding ground, the perfect hotbed for Hitler, who didn't appear out of nowhere, but was put in there by these very same, we're always talking
by the American industrialists. Hitler was selected and groomed and trained by the American industrialists.
So ever since, they've been working on infiltrating our systems with their people. I think it picked up speed in 1992 when they decided to create their own leaders for us and serve them to us on a silver platter so that we would vote for them through this, the Young Global Leaders Program. But it is mind-boggling to see how they were able to put all these psychopaths in play and make us play along with it. And that's what's going to be very hard to swallow. One of the most important interviews we did is with a former official of the United Nations, Călin Georgescu from Romania. And he said exactly the same thing you just said. They invert everything. When they talk at the UN and also at the WHO, when they talk about peace, they mean war. When they talk about transparency, they mean lies. And on and on and on. This is a realization that people have to make in order to be able to make the right choices, and do not feel sorry for a psychopath or a sociopath, because these people don't feel sorry for anyone else either.
They feel nothing for anyone else. They don't feel sorry, they don't feel love, they don't feel hate, they don't feel anything. They are without human attachment. Very interesting you should mention that book. I was trying to understand the nature of evil. Mm-hmm. And I did not, because, why is evil more attractive than good? Why is it sexier? How does this work? And I was really struggling with this problem. And one day I walked down to my mailbox, and there in a brown paper envelope was the book you mentioned, The Study of Ponerology, a word I was not familiar with, the study of evil. And I read the book and I realized, oh my God, I've missed the key. The key is that psychopaths are invisible to us. And psychopaths give us what we need, what they think we need. They hide, and they give us only a mirror of our own reality. Well, fast forward, and that was tremendously eye-opening and informative to me, and really helped me understand and go forward with my analysis of what we're dealing with. Fast forward, I decide that I don't want to be married to my husband of 27 years, not General Bird. I've had two husbands, a practice husband and a perfect husband. This was the perfect one. So I decided I didn't want to be married to my practice husband anymore, who was somebody that everybody loved. He was a college professor. He was adored. He was loved. Everybody appreciated him. He was funny. He was smart. He was supportive. He was all these wonderful things. And I just didn't want to be married to him anymore. So I served him with divorce papers, and he hands me an envelope, and I discover that my house is in foreclosure. My cars are in foreclosure. Everything is in a disaster, and he's been embezzling vast amounts of money from our joint life. And I said, how could this be? And I realized that I had been married, and I'm smarter than the average bear. I had been married to a psychopath who was he had an IQ of 180. He was real smart, and he was so good at having me see only what I needed to see that for 27 years, I had no inkling that I was married to this monstrous creature with a total separate life, but horrible. I didn't know that because I was blind to his psychopathic reality. That is how pervasive and powerful these people are. And they have endless money and resources. So of course we're blinded by them naturally. And now we become aware, and then you can't unring that bell once you've heard it. You can't unsee that reality once you've seen it. And that's what we are all struggling with. How could I have been so stupid? Well, no, we were human, and humans can't see subhumans. These are subhumans.
But I think you're right, Rima, that we need more music and more artists and more, artists to communicate this to people
on an emotional level.
Yeah, so that the heart get touched. Not talking, not speeches, but really songs. And we had this offer from this one guy in Berlin. He wanted to present it to us. He was thinking on this line to really create a big thing like that, And
it's terribly important. It's terribly important. I have a locksmith at my gate to get my mailbox open because I can't get my mail, and I must go.
That's all right. Rima, this was very, very, very important. We have to take a very close look at everyone that tells us that that the only thing they're interested about is our good. We have to take a very close look to see if maybe this is one of those people who pretend to be human, but they're not.
Excuse me one second. Excuse me. Are you here? And okay, so I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'll come back in just a couple of minutes.
It's all right, Rima, we're done. That's fine. This is fine. Very happy. There's hope out there, in particular in Africa right now. Maybe they're the ones who will crash the gates, and then we will walk across these crash gates. But we have to take a very close look on the one hand at those people who think or who try to make us believe that they're serving our best interests, to see if they're real or not. But the ultimate goal is to get our emotional, our heart, brain back to work, our instincts, our intuition. Because I think in the meantime, I can see much clearer if somebody is lying to me or not. I'm not talking about my lawyerly experience. I'm talking about the experience that I've made over the last 3 years. I think it'll be possible for us to see the psychopaths because they're not quite real.
Mhm.
I'm honored to have been able to spend this time and talk with you all, and I'm available whenever I can be helpful.
Thank you so much. Dexter
Thank you so
will
much.
probably make all the arrangements in Africa. So
Yes,
that we
most definitely. Yes, yeah, I'm going to take you up on it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.